Well, hello and welcome to Panther Sports Talk. I'm your host, Blake Anderson, and tonight I'm joined by Andrew Cruz. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, this past season, the Panthers had a good basketball season, another 21 year under the belts for Coach Ben Jacobson, but I know not quite what the basketball team was looking for, but another good home year for him as well.
Yeah, things were looking strong coming off the 2012 season with the loss of only one senior. Things were looking very promising. Along with that, we had a very, very good schedule. If we were to get a lot of good quality wins, things would have been looking good for us. But early on, we had our tournament in Battle of Atlantis. Didn't get the wins that we wanted down there, but we got a few signature wins over the year until we hit the conference schedule.
Talk about that Battle of Atlantis. They went down there and they played some really good basketball teams, gave Memphis a run for their money.
Yeah, we started off with a game against Louisville, the team who ended up winning the national championship, and it only became we lost on, it was a 1 or 2 possession game, and then that put us in the losers bracket right away, and we dropped one to Stanford, and then we played Memphis, like you said, and that one slipped away from us.
And then you came on back to Iowa, and you had a tough game in Des Moines against the University of Iowa. That was a tough game. Another 9-point loss, but man, that was a fun one to watch.
That it was. It was really good to go to Wells Fargo and just experience that new atmosphere with Hawkeye fans, Cyclone fans, and Bulldog fans.
And then coming into Christmas break here on campus, the St. Mary's Gales rolled into town. First night, little weather, bumped the game back a day, but a Sunday afternoon game made for a fun one in the McLeod Center.
Absolutely. It was a blast having them come into town with their star player Matthew Della Vedova. We played them last year on the ESPN 24-hour marathon and just got thumped. And so St. Mary's rolled into town. We gave it back to them.
Yeah, that proved to be a fun one. And then rolling into the conference season, right around that 500 mark, and the Panthers looked strong. They showed their points, and then the conference season started, and things didn't start out quite the way they wanted to.
Yeah, it had a rough start. Got beat at Wichita State by a good margin, and then Indiana State came into town, and things just didn't go our way there. But we got a few wins after that, and then once the Creighton game hit, we really got the ball rolling, had a good 7 or 8 game winning streak.
You talk about the Indiana State game. At that point, Indiana State, things went downhill towards the end of their year, but right about when the Panthers played Indiana State, things were looking good for the Sycamores, just coming off that win against Miami.
Absolutely. Bringing them into town and hosting Jake Odom and R.J. Mahurin, those are just a great bunch of ball players, and they got the shots falling that they wanted to, and things just couldn't drop that the Panthers wanted.
As we talked about, then momentum started to get rolling on later in the conference season. You played the likes of Wichita State and knocked them off after kind of revenging that loss at Wichita State, where Wichita State really took it to the Panthers.
Absolutely. Once the season went along, the group of Panthers, they started to gel, and actually their quality of play just went through the roof, and it seemed like they were kind of unstoppable for a while, but towards the end of the year, a few of them got away from us right before we hit the Arch Madness season.
And then the Creighton game. That's always probably the biggest game on campus every year, and the last couple of years, Creighton's come into town, and former Panther coach Greg McDermott, things haven't gone quite the way he wanted.
I'll correct you on that. They've come to town 4 years in a row and haven't gotten a win. But yeah, the Creighton game is always a big one for Panther fans, seeing as Doug McDermott signed his letter of intent to play here, and then he got the okay to go play for his dad at Creighton. And when you switch over to a rival school, naturally fans aren't going to like you too well.
That made for a tough situation there. Obviously, Coach Jake and Greg, real good friends, but you definitely would have liked to seen Doug McDermott come to UNI, turned into a national player contender every year. But let's roll into Arch Madness. Things really started to roll well for the Panthers toward the end of the season. High hopes, and ran into Illinois State in the first round. And Illinois State was another team that came into the season with high hopes, but their season didn't quite go the way they wanted it to.
Yeah, they were preseason pick number 2 in the standings, and they had a nice non-conference season. They also played Louisville and played them down to the wire. Once the conference schedule came around, things didn't go their way. They were down towards the bottom, towards the beginning of the season. The Panthers actually swept them during the conference season, but once they got to Arch Madness, once again things didn't go our way. They got hot from downtown. I think we were down 16-3 at one point, but battled back, but it just wasn't quite enough.
You talked about not being enough in the Arch Madness. Then the postseason came around, and as we talked about at the top of the show, Coach Jake, another 21 season for him here at UNI, and ended up playing in the CBI. How'd that go?
CBI went well. It wasn't the NIT like a lot of people had hoped, but at this point, it's rather you're either playing or you wish you were playing. So we were happy to get a CIT invite, and we started off by playing North Dakota, a team that we'd already played earlier in the year. They gave us another good run, but we overcame them. And then we got Illinois Chicago, another tough team with a couple solid ball players, and we overcame them as well. And then we got a matchup against Weber State.
And Weber State last year, a NCAA tournament team, and Weber State ended the season for the Panthers.
They did. They got off hot just like the Illinois State game. We were down by quite a bit, but we battled back and actually had to lead at 1 or 2 points. But in the end, just things didn't go our way. I lost by 3.
Talk about rolling into next year. Who's coming back for the Panthers next year?
We got some key returns coming next year. We got Seth Tuttle at the post down low, point guard Dion Mitchell. Both of those players made the All-NBC freshman team a couple years back. We got some solid ball players coming off the bench, Matt Bohannon and Chip Rank. They saw solid minutes this year. Got a couple freshmen coming in next year. Gatorade All-Iowa Gatorade Player of the Year, Jeremy Morgan's coming in. A lot of people are thinking that he's going to start and see some minutes. There's going to be Ted Freeman coming out of Ankeny. He was an All-State selection pick, along with the 3A Player of the Year, Clint Carlson.
Talk about Seth Tuttle for a minute. That's a guy that coming in here seemed kind of flew under the radar on a lot of recruiting services, didn't get a lot of looks from the big schools. But Seth's come in here, and looking back, I mean, during the Iowa game, got the chance to step up and play a BCS conference school, and he really shined and really showed what he could do.
He really did. The rumor has it that after he committed to Northern Iowa, a lot of big schools came knocking saying, hey, if you decommit, we'll give you a serious look and possibly an offer. But he stayed true to his word and stayed here, and he's been starting since day one, and he's been showing what he can do.
And earlier in the show, we talked about the tournament per se down in Des Moines, where it features all 4 of the state schools. And next year, UNI drives Iowa State, and Iowa State obviously a fun school to play. They like to get out and run. What are your thoughts on playing Iowa State next year? That now obviously you don't get to play Iowa State and Iowa each year; you just get one of the 2.
It excites me to play Iowa State next year. Panthers and the Cyclones, they've always given the fans a great ball game, and I don't know who comes back for Iowa State next year, but Ben Jacobson, he's had the mayor's phone number for a while, so he knows what he's going to be bringing and what they can do.
Well, the mayor's first trip to Cedar Falls as a coach resulted in a loss, so I'm sure that Ben Jacobson would definitely like to keep things that way. Thoughts going into next year?
Not as hopeful as last year, just because of all the people that we lost, but there's a lot of good people. Like, he's got a really hyped up recruiting class coming in. Not exactly sure who's going to be filling in the roles for the people that we lost. Not sure exactly who's going to be redshirting next year, but it's looking good. A lot of people have us at number 2 in the standings, and we'll just see where it goes from there.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And Panther basketball just ended, but geez, we're already into the middle of April, just about 7 months away from kicking off practice, and 9 months away from starting the season back up.
Can't wait.
Thanks for joining us.